Hello, sweet friends. So today is my first big preserving day. I've been doing little bits here and there, like cutting and freezing strawberries, cutting and freezing rhubarb, cutting and freezing green onions. But today is the day when it has piled up and it's time to do something. I don't want to preserve kale little bits every day. I want to collect it in the fridge, in my baggies. And then when I have a lot, I want to go ahead and preserve it. And the reason I do this is because then I only have to put the pot of water on to boil once. And also, this looks like a lot of kale, but it will cook down to almost nothing. So let me show you what I have going on. I have a bunch of things going on. And this morning I made rhubarb barbecue sauce called Victoria sauce. So here I have strawberries from the farmer's market. The chipmunks and the birds have been eating our strawberries this year. So until we can figure out how to deal with that, we have been just loving the farmer's market strawberries. I'm not even cutting these. I am literally taking the green off and throwing them in the bag, and that is it. And I'm kind of just doing it in between other tasks. No big deal. The other thing I'm doing is fava beans. So I have grown my own fava beans, but I don't have enough to do seed saving and to put up any. Basically, I have enough probably just for fresh eating, though I haven't harvested them yet. So I just decided to go ahead and get 2 containers from the farmer's market. They are there for the tiniest time. If you miss them, they're gone. And I'm going ahead and I'm just shelling these and then putting them in here, and we'll do something with those later. Then I've got my kale system here and broccoli leaves. I'm also doing spaghetti yellow broccoli leaves. And then this is a muffin top tin. Over here, I've pretty much got my station set up. So this is already chopped and ready to go. I have a pot of water with a steamer. It's not a steamer basket, but whatever. It's like a strainer. Ow, I'm so stupid. And then a bowl to put them in after. So basically it looks like this. We're gonna put a handful of the greens, 2 handfuls, 3 handfuls. I don't know how many we can get, maybe 4 handfuls of the greens in the basket, in the strainer. And then I'm just gonna let those sit for a minute, and then we'll turn them once I notice they're getting a little bit wilty. As they are steaming, I will continue to chop them. I only have this one muffin top tray, but I do have regular muffin trays that I can use if I want to. So basically, they're going to go into here, and then you put them in the freezer, flash freeze them. It doesn't take long, and then you pop them out and you put them in a Ziploc baggie, and then then you have these greens, these little pucks to take out all year long. I still have some from last year in the freezer. We did beet greens, we did kale greens, we did broccoli greens, we do arugula, we do perpetual spinach, anything that you want that's a dark green, that's some sort of green, you can do this way. I learned this method from Crystal at Untitled Homestead. I love Crystal. I love Crystal. She's a very popular Instagram account, just put out a cookbook called, I'm going to get the name. I'm sorry, I can't remember it at this very moment. But I have pre-ordered it and I can't wait. So that's exciting. I'll put the name on the screen. I blank on names. I can't remember names of anything. I barely can remember the names of my kids. Okay, so here we go. All right, my cabinet is broken over here. That's why you can see everything down there. Dave's fixing that. Now we're just gonna give it a quick little toss. And these will wilt down soon. I don't wilt them too far. I like to keep a little bit of a bite to them, unless I forget and I'm doing something else and I get distracted and then they get super wilty, but I like to just do a very gentle wilt. You want them to be wilted enough that you're gonna be able to put them into that muffin tin mold. And you're basically just pressing them down in. The steam from these will just wet them just enough so that you'll be able to press them down in. Look how beautiful they get. They just turn this bright green. Absolutely gorgeous. These are really simple. The fava beans are so simple. You just try to get it so that you get the string to pull off. And then if you get the string to pull off, they just open right up. You pull the beans out, and then this is gonna go in the compost. So now I'm just gonna take, ow. Be careful not to burn yourself like I'm doing. I'm burning myself all over the place. We're just gonna take that, dump them in the bowl, and then it's ready for the next batch over here. See, so I have 3 stations set up. I have it all set up and ready to go. I can go strawberries, fava beans, in between the steaming of the greens. I can do some chopping, and basically this will all get done in the same amount of time. The cleanup is really easy. And then I have preserved 3 separate things today, and 4 if you include my rhubarb Victoria sauce. Okay, so it's up to you. Do you want to wait till these cool more, or do you want to just use them right now? Apparently I just like burning myself today, so we're just gonna go ahead and do it right now. You take a big clump of them and you press them down into the pans. You want to do this while they're warm, even if you don't want to do them while they're steaming hot. You got to do these while they're warm, otherwise they're not going to press down quite this well. And I know it looks a little funny right now. You're like, how is that actually gonna freeze? But it does. It just does. So nice little clumps like this. I'm gonna do half for fresh eating, and then I'm gonna do half for a recipe. So the kids keep asking where are all the strawberries, and I keep saying they're frozen, and they really don't appreciate that answer. That's not helpful to them, and they would like to actually eat some food, not just have it all go in the freezer. So I'm gonna do 2 of those cartons here like this. When you're doing Ziploc baggie work, rather than have it like this and keep having to open it, if you just roll your baggie like that, it stays open. It's a really nice way to do it. So Dave and I have 5 kids between the 2 of us. We are a blended family, and 3 of the kids live here full-time. 1 of the kids lives full-time with their mom, and 1 of the kids goes back and forth every other week. I don't typically get a lot of time alone in my kitchen. There are people coming and going all the time, in and out, all around. And for me, the way I regenerate, the way I get myself back, the way I get my energy back, the way I feel like I'm connected back to myself, has always been through having alone time. And that is nothing against anybody in my family. It's nothing against my kids. It's nothing against my partner. It's nothing against anyone. Friends, I need it. I crave it. I have to have it. Maybe it's like an introvert thing. I think it's a highly sensitive thing as well. It's how I feel back to myself. Spending time in the kitchen is one of the ways that I do that. I'm also a writer, so writing helps me do that. I've had a week break from work and I haven't really written this week, and it's very like off-putting. It's sort of weird, like what am I supposed to be doing? Anyway, we all have those things, like, you know, this is some people gain energy by being with other people. Dave is like that. If Dave is around other people, he actually gains energy. He doesn't need recuperation days after he's been like hanging out with people. I do. And most of our kids are highly sensitive and introverts, and so they require a lot of time alone. They spend a lot of time in their rooms, which I know most teenagers do, but like after they've had a big day, like hanging out with their friends, they usually need a recovery day, which I don't think I did when I was a teenager because I just want to be with my friends all the time. But these kids are really smart and they know like they need some downtime. So it's a busy house. When my kids all turned about 10, 11, they asked to no longer be in pictures on Instagram, on my website. They know that I probably write a little bit about them, but they really asked for a level of privacy. When they were young, they didn't mind. In fact, they seemed to love it. Lucas, my youngest, who's 13, he was very little when I started my business, and he was like in every video I made, or he'd be like singing from the bathtub while I was making a video for one of my programs. So he was always there, and so that time was precious to me. It's just so different now. So I've got one kid in college, and she was here for a month while the other kids were still finishing school, and she didn't have, her job hadn't started yet. So basically all of a sudden I lost all this alone time that I'm used to. So this last month has been pretty hard for my nervous system. It's just a readjustment. And now she's starting work full time and all the other kids are home from school. So it's like, but it's fine. It's temporary, and this is how, you know, this is the way it is. And so I'm just finding these little moments in between. Now I have the downstairs. I do make some videos from downstairs, but when I can be in my own kitchen, I am just so happy. And once we fix it up down there, once that space is really fixed up, I won't be like, today I was making the rhubarb barbecue sauce, and I like had to run up for the ginger and the allspice, and then I had to run up for the apple cider vinegar, and I was just like up and down and up and down, and it just felt like it felt like off and chaotic, and that was supposed to be a whole video on its own, and I couldn't post that because yeah, I was just completely off because I wasn't in my own space, and I need to be. All right, so more grains, here we go. I would never want anyone to put off learning how to preserve because they think that you need a ton of fancy equipment, or you know, yeah, it's great. It's great to have a dehydrator. It's great to have a pressure canner, but you don't need one to preserve your food. There are other ways to do it. You can air dry when you dehydrate, and you can use your oven at a low setting, and you can freeze a whole lot of things. So we have 2 freezers downstairs in the garage. So we had a full size like fridge freezer. You can turn either section into a fridge or a freezer. In the house when we moved in, it was in the garage. And then when we were getting a generator from someone off of Craigslist, I mentioned that one of the things I was learning to do was put up food and preserve and grow. I said the next thing we're looking for is a freezer. And he said, well, my mom is actually moving into a retirement home in a few months, and she has a beautiful stand-up freezer. Would you like me to take your information and I'll call you when she's ready? And basically it just was a help to them because it meant that they didn't have to move it or figure out what to do with it. Turns out her husband worked for this store that sold these appliances, and it's a really, really nice freezer. So that freezer mostly is for our meat. So we will order a quarter cow or half a pig or something like that, and then we put that into the freezer, and that's the meat that we primarily use for months until it runs out, and then we do it all over again. And then the other freezer is what I'm considering my fruit and vegetable freezer. Now there's overflow in both of them. I'm not very organized, so things end up where they end up. You know, our chicken coops we got for free on Craigslist. The freezer we got for free basically through Craigslist. You don't need fancy equipment. Yes, eventually you will probably want it. And you don't need as much time. You need time, don't get me wrong. Like, this is what I do in the summer. I garden, I put up food, and I work. But what you could do is like this system. So strawberries, fava beans, greens, right? I'm getting it all done all at once. And then I can clean up the kitchen and we can have a really simple dinner, and that's it. I love it. I could easily spend days and days and days in the kitchen, and I find so much pleasure and so much joy, and it's also like such a sensory experience. So I was just messing with that one, but I wanted to show you inside of a fava bean pod in case you've never seen one. There is this fuzzy, fuzzy, fuzzy inside. It is so soft. Now people do eat these. They'll tend to eat the smaller ones. I'm gonna bite this for you guys. I don't really want to, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Yeah, I don't like it. I've tried it a couple times. I don't like the pods, but some people do. We are just going to be using the beans, and there are two ways you can do this. So some people keep them just like this, and then other people, like me, steam them and then remove this outer shell. So you'll see people debating, like, should you remove that or not? It's totally a preference. You can do both. You can do one or the other. So I'm gonna give these a very light, I'm actually gonna boil them in just a little bit of salt water, just for a very quick time. And then I'm going to let them cool, and then I'll be removing the shells. All of these that I bought from the farmer's market are to put up, so I will be freezing these in baggies. And then all the ones from my garden, we will be eating and doing seed saving. So I'm very excited to have these. These will make delicious soups. These are incredible. The fresh ones we'll eat on salads. A little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and some garlic. Like, this is so underrated. I don't know why more people don't grow fava beans. They were a little temperamental for me, but delicious. So I'm gonna do these in 2 batches. This is the first container. I mean, that made a substantial amount, didn't it? So I'm just gonna get these in here. Turn this down just a touch. I'm gonna add a little salt to the water. And then I'm just gonna let these boil for a very short time. And while that's happening, I'm back to my greens and just getting things ready to go for the next round. Now, when you have kale and it has a big stem like this, all you have to do is come through and rip it off. Some people will do like that and then tear. I've always kind of just torn it as I go. Tear the leaves from the stems. You can use the stems if you want. A lot of people pickle them, ferment them. I tend to not. We end up with so much food that I'm happy to compost those or share them with the chicken if the chicken are interested at all. And that's it. I mean, it goes so fast. And there it is, ready to be steamed. We do eat a lot of raw greens, but at this point, there's so many of them that before anything goes bad, and because I do want to have them to use in meals during the winter, and we'll get kale for a long time. Like, kale doesn't stop producing. It keeps going. It's not a like short-term vegetable. You will have people outside harvesting their kale in snow. So this is not something you have to worry about going away. Okay, so now for the very final thing is these have boiled very gently. And now what you can do, so some people just eat them like this. What you can do is you can slip off the skin, and then you have, so you can see the difference in color. It's very significant. Now, you could add this, you could save these up and then just add them to some blended soup that you're making. That would be a really good use of them. You could feed them to your chicken if you have chicken. That's another great use of them. But basically, I take this, and then this is what I would very quickly saute in olive oil, salt, pepper, and some garlic. And it is absolutely delicious. I love fava beans. I will say goodbye and then sit down with my audiobook and listen to a story while I finish all of this up, and I will show you the beautiful greens right out of the freezer as soon as they're done. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more preserving videos, let me know down in the comments. Hitting the thumbs up helps support the channel as well as subscribing. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you.